So I'm here with in my dining room with Luis Vasquez and Susannah Post. I've known them both for a little while. I've known Susannah for quite a while. We met in a little acting situation and had a lot of fun. So why don't you guys just introduce yourselves? Tell us who you are.
Oh man, who am I? Well, I'm Susannah, and I'm with my friend Arnie, one of my favorite people in the whole world, and my partner, Luis, who is one of my other favorite people in the whole world. And right now, who am I? I mean, not that we should, define ourselves by how we trade our body for labor, but I am kind of a traveler. I feel like I'm floating in some limbo right now between a lot of different people and places, and just I kind of plop down for a little bit and see a whole bunch of need, and then I haven't quite figured out how I'm gonna fit into this future that's barreling down the highway. But I don't know. I'm finally in that just bopping along space where you just eat the food that's right in front of you and talk to the people that are right in front of you and pet all the dogs. That's where I'm at. That's who I am.
And you have just graduated right from University of Columbia.
Yeah.
And got your master's work in social work.
Yeah, so I narrowed. I know what I want to do. I found myself sitting next to Arnie in a theater troupe 5 years ago or so, and he said, "I work for this funny little place. Maybe you should apply." And kind of handed me my whole life, and helped me figure out what I really love to do. So now I'm just trying to figure out where else I'm going to do it. So yeah, social work. I love social work. I got a lot of issues with some social workers, and some social work, but I love working with people. People are incredible, especially if you can get to the root. The root of people is beautiful all over.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, I rambled. Your turn.
Luis.
Yeah, I'm Luis Vasquez, and I'm Susannah Post partner, and I work in campaigns, politics, and plumbing. I've done a lot of different things, a lot of different hobbies. What they all have in common is I did them all because I liked the people who were behind them, and I liked and enjoyed the conversations that were there to be had, and I liked learning. So this curiosity of the world and how it works just made me barrel forward into the world, and I've done a bunch of different campaigns for a bunch of different causes. A lot of them I'm proud of, and the other ones I was hopeful of, and I'm proud of the work I did and the impact that I was able to have in those fields.
So you're both a couple of young people that really give me a lot of hope. And I really appreciate being around you guys. So can you guys tell us, how'd you guys meet?
I was in a cafeteria about 10 years ago.
No, in 2017.
I don't do numbers.
It's 2022. It was 5 years ago.
Half of that 10.
Some amount of years ago. Who cares about specifics? I was in a very sad little basement cafeteria, and this guy kind of sidled up to me sideways, and he said, "You look sad. You want a burrito?" And I said, "Yeah." And I followed him a couple streets away, and he introduced me to a good spot to get a burrito around the corner from where we were working. Is that about how it happened?
On the way back, she talked about her dog and her concern of her dog escaping at all times.
He's a little bit of a Houdini.
Yeah. Are you still recording?
Yeah.
Okay. Just double check for you.
Yeah, we're still on here. So that little food truck that you took her to was a place over by the Capitol, right? A little food truck trailer thing.
Yeah, the green one.
It was.
Yeah, it was right by the Capitol.
Javier's? Is that what it's called?
I don't even know. It was just good.
I know that truck. That's a good truck.
Yeah, I was walking to work from a stakeholder meeting, and I walked past it and I smelled it, and I was like, well, that smells pretty good. I remember that. And I went back the next day and it lived up to it, and just so happened that Susannah loves burritos.
You didn't know that about me.
I didn't know that. It was, but
What made you ask me if I was hungry?
well, it was nothing romantic or I wasn't. I thought you were beautiful, but I was also, when I'm working and when I'm in a workspace, I don't really I really focus on that, and I think that if anything, I just love talking to people, love getting to know people, and it looked like you were somebody who cared about people. I thought you'd have an interesting perspective to share that was different, and you did. Just
I'm sure glad you guys met.
Well, that was the initial, and then we were friends for a really long time. Kind of, I don't know, just ships passing in the night. There were like a couple of times I remember spending time together that were just, I was like, oh my God. I remember every time I ever talked to you, especially if we were alone, that I thought I could talk to you for days. And we'd still have something to talk about. It could be nothing, it could be the fate of the world, but it was just easy, it was comfortable, and I really liked how much you cared about things. And you were funny.
yeah.
So, Luis, you've worked for the Democratic Party, and tell me if I'm wrong, in the Working Families Party, and different campaigns. And why do you do it? Why do you do this? That's hard work, man.
It is hard work. It's really hard work. And if you were to ask me 2 weeks before Election Day, every single campaign, I would tell you I shouldn't do it. I regret it. I hate it, and it's a mistake. But you ask me now, a month and a half away from a campaign, and I have staffers who are running really important housing bills and legislation and work and involved in all levels of government, and you see the impact that you had on communities that is long lasting. You get, I get a lot of gratification from that. I think I like seeing the results of my work, and that's what keeps me going. I've seen good results, and I've seen the impact it makes, and it matters. So that's why.
Yeah, and I know you've worked on some campaigns that didn't work out, right?
Yeah. I think one of the ones that was where I had to find value in the work I did, regardless of the result, was working on bills like 300, which was to repeal the camping ban in Denver. That I still believe is something that needs to be addressed. I think that what I learned was the impact I made with people, the hope I gave them, the inspiration that I drew from them, the experience I got. It just made me know that this is something that has to be done with passion, with energy, and win, lose, or draw, you have to keep fighting because it doesn't end. You know, it doesn't end.
And Susannah, I know music's really important to you. Can you tell us about your music? What does it do for you?
I actually sang before I could speak. My sister was rehearsing a song, and it was one of the songs from Cinderella, and apparently I came in on pitch with the bird chirps, and my dad was like, "Oh my God." It's just always been a huge part of how my family expresses love and closeness is through literal harmony, and blending voices and blending instruments and figuring out how to work together, even though they don't always. If everybody wants to be melody, then you're gonna have a problem. So I don't know. It's an interesting metaphor, I guess, for how to work with people, because if you're focusing on doing the part you like, then you're missing the big picture, because what you actually want is to stay true to the song. You got to listen to the song itself and connect to what's around you, I guess. My grandparents were musicians. My dad's a musician. My mom's a singer. I don't think anybody ever got paid for it. My dad's family was mostly through the church. They, my grandma used to play the organ to put us to bed. They had a big old organ in their house. She was actually playing piano till the week she died. She was incredible. I actually found out that she secretly loved jazz, which is an incredible thing to find out when somebody's 97. It was. I love that you can find out something about somebody you've known your whole life, and it just shifts your entire perspective. I can't believe I never knew that she knew every word of every song Fats Waller ever touched. That's so freaking cool. Anyway, what's important about music? Actually, big part of our early, I guess, dating, when we were finally figured out that maybe we wanted to be in a romantic context, was sending songs back and forth. And being the library monster that I am, I used to read into the lyrics a lot. Eventually he was like, "Oh no, this is entirely about vibe." So I was probably writing a whole bunch of stories in my head, but the vibe rang true too. Except for Call the Doctor.
So, just a warning, I'm going to ask you to sing here in a few minutes.
What?
If you will.
All right.
So, Luis, you grew up here in Denver just like I did, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Born and raised.
And what do you see Denver? How do you see Denver right now?
I think that I see Denver kind of. I think I've seen a lot of patterns come and go, but the changing of the skyline and all the houses and the issue, everything is getting bigger. I feel like growing up here, it kind of just seems like just the drum roll just gets louder, and you just think it can't go faster, it can't get louder. It goes faster, it gets louder. And I think that right now, is the first time I just heard a pause in the drum. I think Denver's in its first pause moment, where we don't know what direction it's going. It used to be steaming ahead, out of control, this train with no brake, Now it's somewhere in the air, and we don't know where it's going to land. But we know that we're not speeding forward like we were. We know that something's changed, and I think right now we're in a spot where a lot of people are in a lot of hurt, and people are going to have to really be careful about the decisions they make in the future, especially when it comes to running the city, because it's going to have immediate impacts.
Yeah, it's really a shame. I mean, we used to have neighborhoods in Denver, and they've kind of just been demolished and renamed. And
yeah, I think that there there's been a lot of it's the number one gentrified city, right? One of them in the country. It has a huge Hispanic displacement rate, right? You lose culture, you lose so many things. It's replaced by markets and coffee shops and everything else, and that brings its own culture, right? And it takes on a different take on the city, and things go out other places. I think that what's been hardest to watch is what's been happening to the public school system in Denver since I was a kid. Just seeing it dismantled while I was in it. It's like driving in a car with somebody taking the wheels off while you're going down the road. It's hard not to pay attention to. And it seems like ever since I exited that vehicle and, exited the public school program and went into my regular, careers and everything, they just took out the airbags and everything else needed. So it's tough to watch that. I think it's tough to watch so many young students pay the price of other generations in action. And that's a bummer too.
yeah. So let me just say something that I think of when I think of you too. I mean, here you are, two beautiful, young, intelligent, smart people, and love with each other and caring for each other, but you can't find a living situation and working situation where you can really be together in a proper atmosphere. Is that right? Do I have that right, or?
You're not wrong.
Yeah, right now. We've had times where we have been. We've had times where we're not. I think it's just kind of, I don't know. I think that it's funny because things don't really feel like a test of our relationship anymore. Like they used to might have been like, oh, this is going to be a struggle. This is really going to test our connection to each other. It's more just everything's an inconvenience. It's in the way. It's not doubting like, oh, this is really going to test us. It's like, what a pain in the butt, can we just move on from it, It's not frustration with me, it's not frustration with her. Nope, it's just the understanding that the situation is a situation in front of us, and at the end of the day, we both value spending time with each other, and we enjoy having a space to ourselves, but, yeah.
I think a big part of it is that we both got pretty intentional about wanting to build something together, and there's the awareness of building towards something with a good foundation, like being intentional about having that plan and that goal. And then there's also all the shit, can I cuss here, that keeps happening in the world and with each of us personally. Just the sheer tragedy of the last couple of years. I can't imagine facing any of it without you. But I mean, I can. That's the problem. It sounds awful. It sounds really awful. I know that we've both made sacrifices for, not even necessarily like for each other, but also like to protect this precious thing that we found by sheer accident. Like I think it's sort of a miracle that we worked really hard to bring about, I guess, because we've both chosen to be vulnerable over and over and over again, even though it doesn't come naturally, because it's hard. But I think the long short answer is that we don't want to settle for less than the place. And our work and our it's sort of it's not a calling, but I think we're both really driven, ambitious people in a very specific way, which is that of lessening harm to the communities we love. And it's very hard to do anything that doesn't cause harm in a world like this one. So I think it's we've been trying to build this little house of and then in a way, like the brick and mortar is the least important part of it, although I am really excited about it.
So both of you guys said the word hard a couple times there, and it just doesn't seem that, like, if we really care about families and our youth, it shouldn't be this hard. it shouldn't be this hard.
I think we've both talked about one of the hardest parts was being separate, because we both had a big thing we were trying to build, and we couldn't do it in the same physical space. So when I was in New York, it really tested us. I think ever since then, that's when it stopped being a test. It was like, if we can make it through that, then and all that was exhausting and terrible, and I mean I was going through sort of a metamorphosis of my own. It was having to confront some really, really difficult truths about change not being a thing that's easy, or I don't know, that you can't just put your back into it and make the change. It's not an automatic thing, and it's also not the change. Like, if you put your back into it, you might be doing something thoughtless that makes something even worse for somebody else that you hadn't thought of. I mean, I don't know. Social work school was a great thing to do, but it did really muddy my intentions, and it was a painful thing to go through. Partly because you're watching so much harm happen within it. I mean, but you're talking about it as you watch it. It's a very, very navel-gazing thing to do, actually. But
a lot of harm's been done with good intentions, right?
Yeah, and I went to this old institution that has some ghosts and some resources and some ways to make incredible things happen. So I think this is actually true of politics too. When you're working with an old institution, or I guess any kind of institution, something with inertia, with money, with resources, with I mean, I've seen it happen. I've been in it on every level, from the tiniest nonprofit to a group of friends to a country or a global society. I mean, looking at the whole thing is actually quite painful if you're paying attention. And I hadn't really been forced to look before that. I got to hold on to some of my illusions. But something about, I don't know, a lot of the work I was doing there really drove it home that nothing was as simple as I would be comfortable with.
So I believe that before we can really work towards change, we have to have a vision of what we want. You know, what is the goal? What is the world we want to see? So what is the world you guys want to see?
I'll say I'm a bad example because I kind of just wake up every day and I just see what it is. You know, I just know that when I close my eyes for 8 hours, I can wake up in the morning and it look completely different than when I went to sleep. And I just say I'll work on that. So I really go with the flow. I think that there's a pile of issues out there, and I just I try to go with the flow and move things forward as I can, and try to bounce in between a bunch of things. And I see where I get traction. Where I get traction, I pull, and where I get resistance, I push.
That's a good metaphor. Yeah. Okay. How about you, Susannah?
I don't know. I could list a million things that I wish were a reality. I don't know if there's one pin that I would pull. There's just
What would a perfect society look like, or a good society? Perfect's a hard word, but a good society.
I don't know if you've read any Ursula Le Guin, but I mean, there's a reason I love science fiction. It's I mean, working in conjunction with community and land and trees. I think balance is the key, but I don't know. I don't know if I think Luis is probably right that you kind of have to wake up and eat the food that's in front of you, talk to the person that's there. I do think that one of the hardest lessons I had to learn in the last couple of years is that there is power in just being a witness. There is, it's not nothing. I used to think that it wasn't good enough, but sometimes it's your only option. I walked around New York City for a long time after this one class about working with folks who were incarcerated, and they were saying that what are you gonna do but sit there? Like you have to be able to sit there and sit in that space with somebody and know that this is what you're doing. This just being here and awake and focused on somebody else is a lot, or at least it's what's available, and it does make a difference.
Yeah, definitely. Helping people feel seen and heard, and just being there with them is very important.
It's powerful. It's not as satisfying to me, which, it's not tearing anything down. It's not feeding somebody. It's not doing the things that I want to be able to do. But again, that's me centering me. So if what somebody needs is me to sit there and listen to them, then I'll learn how to do it better.
And I think it helps people. Like, we can't fix everything, right? It's impossible. But if you're there with people, it gives them the strength where they can fix things for themselves, which is really the best way to do things.
Or that we can just bear things as they are a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because we're breaking bread together.
Right. Yeah.
I've seen that on the trail too. Campaign trail. It's been pretty cool.
So, just a couple more questions here. I wanted to, like, Luis, you're a plumber and a campaign political activist, and what a combination, man. What's it like? You fixing sores one day and banging on doors the next, and raising funds for a cause or a person running for something?
Yeah, I think that a big reason why I'm in politics is because my dad owned a small business and he was a service plumber, and we did commercial and residential plumbing. And when people call a plumber, they don't bring out the fine china, they don't sweep the house, they don't hide anything. They allow you into their lives as is, and they let you know their problems, and they open up to you in different ways, because in that moment people need your help, and you're able to really change someone's day. It was amazing to see the instant result of being able to help someone out, right? Service plumbing is directly just going there, helping somebody out, and getting paid to do it. It was pretty cool to watch my dad do that, and he had the same clients since he was a young kid, So I think plumbing taught me what happens behind the door, what happens in the people's household all across the city and state, I saw the conversations, overheard the conversations that were taking place, and I was always surprised how similar every house sounded almost. The same tones, the same rhythm, the same hums and haws, and the same issues. I was just like, well, heck, if we all agree, why are we struggling here? Let's get to it, and I was shocked to see that it's just not quite that easy, and I think I love working with my hands, and I love problem solving, and it's fun to make someone's day by fixing their house and allow them to, go back to living regularly, or fix something that they thought would have to be replaced that would cost thousands. It's cool. It's fun to help people out. I would say that I would love to focus on just the political work, but it's never easy. It's never easy to stay in the room, and sometimes you're in, sometimes you're out, and that when you say worthwhile things, it means that you have to be patient sometimes. And I think if there's anything I learned in the past few years, it's that patience is something that is going to be really necessary to make the kind of change I want to see in the world. And I think it took me a lot of conversations to figure that out, with a lot of old, really, really amazing civil rights leaders and people who pushed in their area. And I realized that these are 20-year, 40-year, lifetime battles that you could win one day and have to fight the next again. And I think that's something that I've seen from the reproductive rights communities. Some of the folks have been fighting for 40 years, putting their hat back on and just being like, I knew it wasn't over. They're not even surprised. They're just like, yeah, that was they feel rested. They're like, yep, knew that they were conning us. Let's make this legit now. And it's just having that mentality that, even if I did win tomorrow, it doesn't mean it stays a win.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you guys to give me one word, each one of you, of how you see the relationship, your world, each other, yourselves. Give me one word.
About each of those?
Just one word that would sum it all up.
Damn, Arnie, that's not half a question.
That was about 6 words. How about you, Luis?
I would say more than anything, I've always felt anchored. You know.
Anchored?
Anchored, yeah. Like I feel like I can go out there and in that universe of, of the galaxy, you know, and just float off and know that I could yanked right back where I need to go. And it makes it kind of easy to jump off the edge of the world all the time when you know that you're going to get pulled right back. I don't feel lost, you know. It's easy when you're connected to the spot you care about most. So.
It's a lot of strength, man. It's a lot of strength. Susannah, did you think of anything?
I think, I don't know, that it's just what I call you. It's just partner, because I think of, when I think of the scariest things, or the hardest things, or the best things, you know, I just think of holding your hand. Partner.
Well, when I'm just sitting here with you guys, I mean, the word love really comes out to me. I mean, and I think of love it's not a mushy feeling that, you know, it's just out there, some warm, fuzzy thing. Love is an actual desire for things to flourish. And that's what I see with you too. So Susannah, I'm going to ask you to sing.
Oh, man. All right, what you want to hear?
How about some Patsy Cline?
Give me a sec.
Is it a 303 shirt
Yeah.
from the like a merchandise Denver store, or is it a company type deal?
I think it's a company type deal. My brother just gave it to me, man.
Oh, nice. There's a skateboard shop called 303 in off of Colfax. They used to give a bunch of skateboards to young skateboarders. Growing up, I used to get a couple skateboards, I think, from them.
Well, you're a 303 for sure, man.
Oh yeah, born and raised. My dad's plumbing van had, for the longest time, we had to tell him, you got to put 303. It just had 477, and it just had the last four. He didn't put 303 on there. I was like, there's more than one area code now, man. You gotta update your business. It's like nobody knows how to get a hold of you anymore.
Your dad's a real 303.
Yeah.
Like you don't even have to say it.
No, you just tell somebody he's got a 477 number, and if you've been in Denver for a while, you're like, oh yeah, that's one of the. He had one of those suitcase phones back when they came out. You know, what does a plumber need? A phone, right? You got to get a hold of one, and how do you get a hold of a plumber if he's always out there plumbing? You know.
Yeah.
You got to call the suitcase.
Those things leaked radiation like crazy.
Did they? Wow.
That was a rumor anyway. Who knows?
Well, maybe I'm the byproduct.
Did you come up with something?
They're all so sad, Arnie.
Sing whatever you'd like.
All right.
Arnie wants a sad song.
Arnie wants a sad song. Arnie gets what Arnie wants. Today. Arnie wants a lot of things. I would love for Arnie to get what Arnie wants.
Yeah.
I think it's all for the world. I feel like.
Yeah.
All right. I'm trying to get lyrics. I know this song. Crazy. I'm crazy for feeling so lonely. Crazy. I'm crazy for feeling so blue. I knew you loved me as long as you wanted. I'm crazy for crying and crazy for trying, and I'm crazy for loving you.
Oh my God. Thank you guys. I love you both.
Worry. Glad you stopped me. I was gonna do the whole thing.
You still can.